Yes, I'd like to invite to the conference too. Thank you very much for coming. After all this information and this inputs just before lunch, I hope you have some energy and power and you can pay some attention for the challenges in Germany. I'm from the Bodelschwingh Stiftung Bethel. That's one of the biggest institutions in Germany who offers support to people with disabilities. Along with my 4 colleagues, as a member of the leadership of region in Bethel, I'm responsible for about 1,400 persons with disabilities and impairments in supported housing and in residential homes. For Bielefeld, you have to know it's a town in the middle of Germany, close to Dortmund. You know perhaps by football. It's a town about 230 inhabitants. And about Bethel is a very traditional institution or organization. It's nearly 150 years old in 2017. And 30 years before, there were only 2 square areas where people with disabilities were living. Let's start my presentation. I want to speak about our ideas about inclusion, how we deal with them, what we work for, and about our challenges. You may not recognize it, but this is the road to inclusion. It's a picture of a Swedish road, but it could be a road in Germany as well. You can't see what's waiting for you behind the next turn of the road, especially with regards to the developments of our social law and the funding of our work. When you talk in Germany about the challenges for independent living for people with disabilities, this is connected in the same time with the topic inclusion. The Convention of the United Nations on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, ratified in 2009 by the German Parliament, and with more than 150 signing countries all over the world has become a vast movement, affects us in Germany in all areas of life. Sometimes inclusion is still limited to the common learning of children in common classes in schools. But in all of Bethel and in Germany, we discuss inclusion which is substantially broader, more comprehensive and controversial. We see it including all areas of human life, like promoted in the Convention of UN. The present discussion, however, can be understood even better with a brief review of German history. In the post-war period from the 1950s, people with disabilities were mainly people who needed supplies and for whom it was necessary to establish appropriate protective institutions, ideally on the edge of the cities and towns. In the beginning of the 70s, this changed with the development of social welfare, when people asked about quality of life and when the formation of new social movements and concepts started. The promotion and therapeutic treatment of persons with disabilities was in the focus of development. This corresponded with an enormous expansion of differentiated facilities of help and treatment. Also in this period, also the law on compulsory education for all children with disabilities was passed by Parliament. The Parliament also created the legal basis for sheltered workshops for people with disabilities. In the 90s, the crisis of the social state in Germany on the one hand, and the technical development, for example normalization, on the other hand, The facilities and institutions were questioned, reflecting the exclusionary practices of former times. The principles of regional before nationwide, as well as outpatient before inpatient, became basis for funding by the state and for the providers. With the strengthening of the individual's right to assistance by Parliament, the focus on the need for individual support was heavily promoted. The range of options grew for the people with disabilities, at least theoretically. The conversion of living situations for people with disabilities is progressing, touching all aspects of the United Convention. Non-discrimination, full participation, elimination of barriers, freedom of choice, education, work and employment, and full of civil rights. Since 2001, the vision of Bethel has been Gemeinschaft verwirklichen. That means realized community. Our vision is the natural coexistence, the common learning and working together of all people. Their differences and variety we understood as enrichment. The basis of our work in Bethel Regional is expressed in the so-called 4+ criteria for promoting inclusion, based on each individual, based on the social context, oriented towards the community, benefits and services from a single source. I think you will get the presentation and you can read it later again because lunch is waiting. As a result of the development which I have described, a lot has been accomplished in the last 25 years, in Bethel as well as in Germany. Decentralization and conversion of large institutions is at the heart of development, ranging from the end of the 80s until today. The institutions have been gradually reduced or dissolved. Meanwhile, more people in Bethel are using decentralized services in the community than in traditional locations. You see it when you look at the red and the blue line. In addition, the rapid construction of the supported housing began in the middle of the 90s. You see the green line or blue line. It started in 1992, and now there are more than 1,500 people who are living in supported housing. And I think it's not the same like we have heard about a complete living. They're living in their home, their own flat, their own apartment. If predictions come true, in 2019 more people live in the communities than on the core sites. But we need to be careful. Decentralization of efforts and institutions cannot be equated with inclusion, but no more than a necessary beginning for an inclusive and independent life. What we need, and that is not usual in the German welfare system, are flexible transition between different kinds of services. Today, clients can and must choose between offered services, but there are still too few opportunities for tailored individual support services. For example, it is still associated with a high administration effort for the clients to move from an institution to their own apartment, or to try to support housing for a few months. However, the intensity of the support depends very much on which kind of housing is chosen. In residence, there is a right to all-inclusive support, think you know it from here. And supported housing, generally a high level of independence is expected, with little support needed. Our vision for the future is to give all people with disabilities the opportunity to organize themselves according to their own choice, any support and assistance that they need in their respective living situation. One example is intensive supported housing that we offered and have continued to develop for several years in our organization. Already more than 200 people take part in this offer. As success factors we experienced, clients want to move. Clients' information must be understandable. Clients must be able to customize their own situation. Clients is a tenant of the apartments, as a full member of the society. Individual supportive services as a key to self-determined life, as much as necessary, as little or low as possible. Crises are not setbacks, but chances for learning. Security is high as in the facility, 24-hour support. Service apartments are within walking distance to a service station. Perfectly working cooperation with other providers, for example housekeeping or care. Engagement for development of districts as a precondition for inclusion. Engagement and motivation on the staff. And last but not least, funding base. In addition, we are working to create a special infrastructure for people with disabilities, which allows them to be able to satisfy as many existential needs as possible in the social area or social district. At the center of our consideration are the community centers in the districts of town, in which we offer as many services as possible in cooperation with other providers and companies of the district. For example, this has emerged in the social area Bultmannshof, Wittekindstraße, in the popular district Bielefeld West. You see the circle with a radiometer of about 2 kilometers. In the community center we offer daytime care. In addition, every day of the week there are different offers for education, leisure, meetings, parties, and so on. Next to the community center we built 2 residential homes. I can't read Russia, that's my problem. For 24 and 11 persons, only consisting of individual apartments with private bathroom and kitchen. In addition, nearly 90 people with intellectual disabilities and psychiatric disabilities live in supported housing or in intensive supported housing in their own apartments. The staff organizes the supporting of the clients in their apartments and or in the residential homes from 2 service points. I will show you some pictures. On the left side you see the community center, Bultmannshof. It's an old building from the church. We got it for less money. And in the opposite you see the residential home Bultmannshof for 24 persons with mental disabilities. Here you see another residential home for 12 people. And we pay attention that we have, in every house we have some living rooms for gathering together. We pay attention for individual mailboxes. And you can see it's a quite enormous street, but we can live, you and I can live there as a neighbor. Yes, people who want to live in their own apartment has to take responsibility for themselves, for their life. They have to do all the things what they are able to do. Here are some examples. This man has an epilepsy, and you can see how he's making housekeeping. Here you see another building and another community center. There are some different flats for people who are living alone or for couples inside of a very big building. There are many challenges in our work. I have to introduce you the most important. Respecting, it's changed presentation, respecting the choice of clients, even if a facility must be closed. They have to get different choices for their future. Risk of exclusion of people with high support needs. In Germany, a lot of people are thinking only people with less disabilities can live in their own apartments. But we have now enough examples that people can live with wheelchair, with mental retarded. They are not able to speak, and they need a lot of help. They can live in their own apartment with a lot of assistance. But they can live their own life. Promoting acceptance of people with disabilities in the community. Suitable building sites are often hard to find. This depends about area, price, and acceptance of the neighborhood. Planning new, attractive residential homes in compliance with restrictive funding guidelines. Including all the neighbors, business people, offices in the district, start networking before starting to build. Complexity and effects of our organization, economic consequences of decentralization, values and self-understanding of long-standing staff members. Especially for staff, it's a major challenge to do both, to support the clients and to develop supportive contacts in the social area. So the front staff members have many roles in addition to the everyday individual assistance to clients in their own homes. They have to be coaches for clients in the neighborhood. They have to be lobbyists. They have to be like lawyers for the intention of the clients. They have to be community networker for new contacts for clients. They have to offer new perspectives. They have to participate in the further development of the organization. As staff members who are locally active in the social area have to represent the organization. At the same time, they have to look beyond their own institution and to place wishes, needs and interests of their clients in the foreground. So we are in a transition in which the training for the staff represents an important element of further development. Here you see some examples for staff training. There's individual training, there's team training, and we are training own dialogue. You have to understand, we can't work together in the form like we have done this in the 60s or 70s. We are working together, changed it a lot. Now we have to be open to suggestions or advice of some staff members. Decentralization is a means to support independent living. Nevertheless, we must promote a fundamental change in all aspects of life implications for people with disabilities. Also to support the implementation of the UN Convention. In particular, we see this is a social work in the social area or district. This means in our context in Bielefeld-Bethel, conscious design of enormous change. You see, our road to inclusion is under construction. Thank you for listening.